Hello, everyone. Today, I will be presenting my take on pluribus, from many to one, individuality, conformity, and the illusion of happiness. Vince Gilligan is acclaimed as one of the most influential writer-producers in contemporary American television. He first gained recognition as a writer and producer on The X-Files, where he developed his interest in speculative storytelling and explored themes of alien intervention, paranoia, and the blending of everyday life with the uncanny. Gilligan's breakthrough came with Breaking Bad, which entered the Guinness World Records as the most critically acclaimed TV show of all time. He continued this success with Better Call Saul, a prequel that not only matched, but according to many critics, surpassed Breaking Bad in psychological depth and formal sophistication. With Pluribus, Gilligan can be said to have returned to his science fiction roots. The show revisits concerns he once explored in The X-Files, notably alien infection, collective consciousness, and the erosion of individuality, but reframes them through a contemporary lens. The premise of an alien RNA sequencing that unites human minds and enforces universal kindness marks a shift toward a more philosophical kind of speculative fiction. It can be said that with Pluribus, 6 episodes so far, including yesterday's, he has brought a more thematic maturity, as in his later dramas, to his science fiction work after nearly 3 decades. The name pluribus derives from the Latin phrase e pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one, a significant symbol in American history and culture. It was first introduced in the 18th century when it was included on the Great Seal of the United States during the Continental Congress in 1782. The union of the 13 colonies into a single nation is embodied in the phrase, and it reflects the democratic ideals and diverse heritage of the United States. It is still seen on the Great Seal and the $1 bill, showing its enduring relevance today. What the show uses for its title, however, leaves the name pluribus intact, but replaces the letter I with the number 1. This visually inserts one into many. Another layer of interpretation is that the letter I, which can symbolize identity or individuality, becomes one, representing a single unified consciousness. The title foreshadows Carol's fate and the events to come when the whole world unites in a collective consciousness that is almost exclusively interested in Carol's happiness, leading many to care only for their own needs. Consequently, my suggestion is that the title could mean from many to one, a flattened out, unified, united America, caring for only one individual who does not take all that affection and interest very well. So instead of America as a collection of individuals, it is one individual, Carol, supported by America as a collective being. The yellow color of the show's promotional materials is doubled by a smiley emoji on a Petri dish, which strongly implies happiness. However, the protagonist appears overwhelmingly upset on the cover. The show therefore seems to foreshadow a supposedly happy place with a suffering person at its center, guiding the viewer toward a utopia/dystopia pendulum. The smiley Petri dish acts as a metaphor for happiness, but its scientific setting quietly suggests something more controlled, more manufactured, and possibly more unsettling beneath the surface. The show begins by paying homage to the 1997 American science fiction drama film Contact, co-produced and directed by Robert Zemeckis and based on Carl Sagan's 1985 novel. A signal is coming from 600 light years away. Scientists try to figure out working collectively and finally narrowing down their ideas to conduct research at the United States Army Medical Research Institute of Infectious Diseases. At this moment, the weaver realizes that this is not a radio transmission like the one in Contact, but a biological, genetically encoded message, one that points toward infection rather than interstellar travel. Meanwhile, the weavers are introduced to Carol and her assistant manager, and apparently her romantic partner as well, at a book signing tour where Carol reads one scene aloud to her readers, not knowing that she's foreshadowing the loss of her partner Helen to the joining. With that, Raban, proud, haughty Raban, mounted the plank and leaped from sight. The amaranthine slip sand closed over him, leaving nary a ripple. This is not the first foreshadowing of the show, nor the last. A ship sailing on purple sand, Carol signing books with a purple pen. Fans wearing all purpley colors all seem like aesthetic choices. In some other sources, it is called, pardon my language, shipped writing. But they function as foreshadowing tied to the amaranthine motif, whose purple color is rooted in the Greek word amaranthos, meaning immortal or unfading, and emerged as an adjective of an imaginary undying flower according to Merriam-Webster dictionary, because Oxford wanted money. This particular moment in Carol's book is a foreshadowing of Raban's, or in Carol's point of view, Helen's, and everyone else's moment of losing their identity in the joining, the hive mind. It is a symbolic leap from the individuality to the collective. However dramatic, mythic, or heroic it may sound, once the jump is over, the individual is out of sight, entirely absorbed by the hive mind, leaving no trace of their individual self, and just like that, leaving no trace behind at all. Yet, they are infinite, undying, and immortal, hence the amaranthine. It may be essential to point out that the erasure of the individual is voluntary in Raban's case. He mounts the plank and voluntarily makes the jump. In the first very episode of Pluribus, it is foreshadowed that the collective mind will take over, a theme that also runs through Carol's actual life, where she thinks of her readers as a bunch of dummies. She herself has to conform to the world she lives in by writing lesser works to sustain the economically well-off life she has achieved. She's critical of her own work, and yet she also foreshadows herself in the show. And the world needed yet another female character who spends all her time mooning over some fucking proud and haughty pirate. Well, the world will actually need Carol to move over another Carol, Zosha, one of the infected, so that she will eventually accept joining them. Carol Sturka's surname is a direct reference to Will Sturka, the protagonist of the Twilight Zone episode Third from the Sun, 1960, where a family employed at a nuclear research facility escapes an imminent nuclear war, only to discover that the planet they flee to is Earth. The reference places Carol inside a long science fiction tradition of apparently ordinary people facing systemic civilization-scale catastrophe. One YouTube commenter, Pogi, reads this as implying that Carol and maybe the other 13 non-infected people are descendants of the Sturka family. Whether Gilligan actually wants to continue that storyline is debatable, but the more important point for my purposes is thematic. Like, Will Sturka, Carol finds that there is no clean escape from the system she lives in. Even before the joining, she's already trapped in a world that makes individuality both compulsory and almost impossible. There's also a meta-narrative layer here. It seems that Carol has been writing about her next novel, whose chain of events actually unfolds like the joining, and the events after that, long before they happen. Careful viewers can see it on the whiteboard in her house. So she is, in a sense, the author of the catastrophe that then overtakes her. Whether she will ever fully realize this is still unknown, but this detail adds two things. First, an additional foreshadowing effect. Her fiction prefigures her reality. And second, a blurring of boundaries between individual agency and systemic forces. Is she shaping events or merely anticipating what is already structurally inevitable? To understand Carol's struggle, we can turn briefly to Zygmunt Bauman's distinction between solid and liquid modernity. In solid modernity, the earlier phase of modern life, traditional structures such as family, class, and community weakened, and individuals were freed to choose their own social roles, but those roles were still relatively stable. Identity meant finding a place and performing it consistently. In liquid modernity, Bauman and Ulrich Beck argue those stabilizing structures dissolve. Identities become fluid and insecure, something a person must keep providing and rebuilding day after day in conditions of uncertainty and competition. Individualization becomes a fate, not a choice. Systems still produce risks and failures, but individuals are expected to manage them alone, creating what Beck calls a risk biography. Because nothing feels solid, people try to anchor themselves through consumer choices, constant self-presentation, achievement, and reinvention. Life becomes oriented towards the immediate, instant gratification and rapid disappointment. And even the body becomes something to optimize and redesign, opening the door to post-human transformations. Pluribus places Carol exactly at this intersection, a woman required to perform her individuality in an unstable world, continuously, suddenly confronted with a post-human collective that threatens to erase the fragile self she has been struggling to hold together. Meanwhile, Carol was not thriving as an individual even before the joining. She is already a product and a victim of liquid modernity. She is on paper a successful author. Her books are bestsellers. She can afford expensive experiences like an ice hotel in Norway, where she and Helen witnessed the aurora borealis, but she cannot enjoy them. While the guide describes the uniqueness of the ice blocks and once-a-lifetime nature of the stay, Carol is worrying about what she is on, where she is on the bestseller list, whether she will stick to the ice toilet, and dismissing the aurora as looking like a screensaver. This is a textbook example of Bauman's society of consumers, where life itself becomes something to be consumed, yet never fully satisfying, because desires and comparisons continually escalate. Carol is present in the moment, but not able to inhabit it. Her individuality is inseparable from performance, ranking, and anxiety. We see the same logic in smaller scenes. She insists on knowing her exact place on the list. And she makes Helen move her books to more visible spots in the airport bookstore. Even though she despises the lesser books she's been writing, she still craves being among the best. She wants to stand out and be special, and yet she's trapped producing precisely the kind of marketable content she looks down on. In Bauman's terms, Carol has done what liquid modernity demands. She has chosen a role writer and continually enacts the norms, expectations, and self-marketing that come with it. But this not stabilize her. It simply locks her into a never-ending cycle of self-production. She's uncertain whether she can keep churning out stories, unsure whether she's ready for the real novel she's been working on for years. Her individuality is precarious, work-intensive, and haunted by the fear of failure. When the alien RNA sequence spreads and the joining begins, Carol's individuality is threatened on a new level. It is no longer just her social role or market identity at stake, but her body and mind themselves. Bauman notes that in a world where everything is fluid and short-lived, the body appears as the last relatively solid entity, which makes it all the more attractive as an object for technoscientific intervention and post-human remaking. A distinctly American understanding of individuality also shapes Carol's struggle. As Stephen Lukes notes, in the United States, individualism became a symbolic keyword for capitalism, liberal democracy, natural rights, free enterprise, and the American dream, condensing a belief in equal individual rights, limited government, and moral self-development, a concept that, as Ariely argues, rationalized the nation's characteristic attitudes and aspirations by linking past, present, and future into a narrative of unity and progress, often articulated against socialism and communism, at which, as James Bryce observed, Americans have long regarded as their choicest and most exclusive possession, an expression of personal freedom, enterprise, and pride. When Carol briefly believes she sees a US official making a lie statement on TV, she instinctively blurts out, "God bless America," only to realize the broadcast is just for her, with subtitles instructing her to call if she has any questions. Her faith in country and in her country and herself collapses in the exact moment. The nation was supposed to embody and protect individual freedom now appears as another apparatus addressing her as a problem to be fixed. Pluribus quietly plays with this ideological background. Right after Carol discovers that there are other people like her, she initially behaves like a textbook American individualist. She assumes that she should take charge of the uninfected, organizing a meeting, speaking as if she were the president of the United States, and by extension, of course, almost the president of the whole world, because everyone else has joined into one mind. This moment can be read as a subtle critique of American exceptionalism, the assumption that America is naturally entitled to speak and decide for everyone else, knowing what is best for the world. Yet the other people in the room don't quite buy it. They respond differently to the joining. Some take it less seriously, some refuse to frame it as a crisis, some simply flow with it, and some want to actually join it. In that moment, Carol's model of individualist American-style leadership fails. Her sense of individuality and her cultural script for what that individuality should look like is exposed as partial, fragile, and not universally convincing. In Pluribus, the post-human threat does not come from human genetic engineering alone, but from an extraterrestrial signal of RNA sequence that promises perfect kindness and unity. Yet the effect is similar. The body becomes programmable, the mind mergeable, the self permeable. For Carol, whose individuality is already fragile, this is intolerable. She feels physically unsafe, afraid of being hijacked, terrified of losing her inner voice forever. Her panic at the empty supermarket is another revealing moment. In a society of consumers, autonomy is exercised through the ability to choose, to buy, to manage one's own life by selecting from an array of ready-made options. When the shelves are bare, Carol is devastated. As a self-sustaining individual, she's used to feeding herself by going to the store. So she asks the hive to bring back her supermarket, and they do. It is a request for normality, but also a plea for the consumer structure that underpins her sense of being as an independent person. After indeliberately hurting Zosha with a hand grenade, Carol explains to Zosha how their joining ritual makes her feel uncomfortable, and she mentions the conversion therapy she went through as a teenager when her mother discovered she was a lesbian. She fought hard to reclaim herself back then. So when the hive calmly announces that they will fix Carol and that she doesn't know how good it feels to join them, it directly echoes that earlier trauma. Their urge is to save her from drowning, and her resistance to this is saving. Is not abstract, it is grounded in her own past of being forcibly normalized. Later, when Carol falls into a garbage container overflowing with empty milk cartons, the scene becomes even more unsettling once we know what those cartons once held. A liquid nutrient derived from human remains consumed by the hive as food. The moment does more than echo Bauman's idea of a world filled with disposable objects. It visualizes the ultimate collapse of value, where even human bodies become recyclable material. Carol literally lands inside the waste system of the new world, surrounded by containers that once held liquefied people. It is a grim, almost grotesque metaphor for liquid modern individuality. If human beings can be processed, consumed, and discarded, then the individual self is not just precarious, it is fully replaceable. Bauman describes contemporary society as one of offers, not norms. The individual is constantly presented with options, and the act of making choices is not only desirable, but unavoidable. A necessity, even a duty. Responsibility becomes the inalienable companion of free choice. The individual is appointed sole manager of their life politics. We see this in Carol's interactions as well. When she's asked whether Zosha should go with her, the weight of responsibility falls squarely on Carol. The system presents the choice, but the consequences are hers to own. This is precisely the kind of forced autonomy Bauman associates with liquid modern individualization. So when the joining finally presents itself as an escape from loneliness, risk, exhaustion, and constant self-management, it also appears as a seductive solution to all the burdens of individuality. Carol's refusal, then, is both heroic and tragic. She insists on being a self in a world where that self is structurally undermined from all directions, by markets, by technologies, by cultural expectations, and now by an alien hive mind that genuinely, obsessively wants her to be happy. Bauman also stresses that liquid modern life runs on speed and constant optimization. Delays, glitches, and waiting times usually count as system failure. After the hive's passive-aggressive withdrawal, Carol faces a chain of small slowdowns, the drone stuck on the power pole, the missing garbage trucks, and the same dead signal every time she calls. But she pointedly refuses to complain. She will not become their customer, will not ask them to do better. Her acceptance of slowness is another way of rejecting the seductive service logic of the joining itself. My take is that Carol's individuality is problematic from the beginning. She does not function comfortably in the old world of liquid modern capitalism and American individualist ideology, nor can she accept the new world of total joining. She's caught in between, too aware, too damaged, and too stubborn to belong to either fully. Against Carol's unstable and overburdened individuality, Pluribus places the apparent comfort of conformity. The joined repeatedly tell her, "We just want to help, Carol," and they genuinely mean it. They're kind, patient, and endlessly accommodating, no matter how rude or furious she becomes. On the surface, this looks like an ethical utopia: no crime, no violence, no hunger, only care and safety. But this is also where the show quietly starts to look like a critique of present, especially the current relationship of people with the new technologies, such as large language models. All the people in the show accept the joining without much resistance, just as many of users of AI today adopt data-hungry systems that promise convenience and optimization without thoroughly questioning their consequences. The metaphor becomes sharper when the weaver realizes what the hive actually consumes. Kumba Diabete, the hedonistic playboy who decides to go along with the infected, discovers that the nutrient they drink is made from liquefied human bodies. The hive can no longer kill or even harvest plants without guilt, so it literally recycles the dead. Kumba also realizes that, in the long run, the system will starve itself. Yet he still wants the services to continue because his life has become easier, safer, and more pleasurable. This mirrors the way late capitalist high-tech societies exploit resources, water, energy, and human labor, despite knowing that such consumption is unsustainable. As Braidotti notes, the global economy tends to be post-anthropocentric in that it ultimately unifies all species under the imperative of the market, even when its accesses threaten the planet itself. The hive mind in Pluribus does something similar. It unifies everything under one consciousness, but only by turning all life into a resource to be managed. The scene where the lights go off, the scene where the lights of Albuquerque go dark, except for Carol's house, captures this logic perfectly. The world literally diverts its remaining energy to one apartment in the desert, so that Carol, this individual who refuses to join, can be kept comfortable and persuaded. Global resources, human and non-human, are redirected around a single person's emotional state. Comformity here is not only mental, but it is material and infrastructural. This brings us to the illusion of happiness. From the joint perspective, the world no longer needs saving. There is no crime, no loneliness, no overt suffering, only peace and bliss. Kumba sincerely believes things have never been better, but on the other side, Carol accidentally kills 11 million people simply by losing her temper. Her anger overloads the hive, sending infected people worldwide into a trance state in which they cannot move or protect themselves from accidents. The world wants to be happy. Carol's insistence on her own pain makes her dangerous. Yet she has good reasons to be unhappy. She has lost Helen, and the fact that Helen's memories are immortalized in the collective consciousness only makes things worse for her. Zosha points to her own head and tells Carol that Helen is still in there, but Carol refuses this form of comfort. She does not want a data bank version of Helen. She wants the real person back, or at least the right to grieve on her own terms. Bauman writes about how in globalized liquid modernity, data banks of biogenetic, neural, and mediatic information about individuals are the true capital today. In Pluribus, this becomes literal. Helen survives as information inside the hive, but Carol experiences this not as consolation, rather as a violent denial of her loss. In Bauman's analysis of liquid modernity, happiness itself becomes privatized and present-oriented. It no longer means building a better collective future. It means having a different and more comfortable today. Happiness is turned into an individual project, a matter of managing discomfort through consumption, movement, and quick fixes. The joined world looks like the ultimate fulfillment of this logic. Suffering is erased, frictions are smoothed over, no one is allowed to stay in pain. Yet this is precisely why Carol doesn't fit. She cannot move on from Helen, and she refuses the version of happiness that demands the erasure of grief, conflict, and difference. So when the joining offers to relieve her loneliness, her risk, and her exhaustion, it is not simply a dystopian imposition. It is also a seductive answer to all the burdens that liquid modern individuality has placed on her shoulders. Carol's refusal was therefore both heroic and tragic. She resists conformity and the illusion of effortless happiness, but she does so from a position of profound damage and fatigue. She cannot live comfortably in the old world of precarious, competitive individualism, nor can she surrender herself to the new world of total joining. Her in-between position is where Pluribus most powerfully critiques both liquid modernity and post-human fantasies of a perfectly ordered, perfectly happy humanity. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Dicle. Can you just go back to your first slide so we can have a screenshot of everything? So I'll just have a screenshot of you. Okay. Full screen, please.
Sorry, it doesn't.
Full screen. First slide.
Okay, it's coming. Very slowly. Okay, this is it.
Smile, everybody. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Firuze, would you like to go about this, or I can just go on if you just don't feel like talking a lot, just to kind of.
Yeah, I can. I was just taking a screenshot.
Hmm.
Dicle Hocam, thank you very much. I also very much enjoyed the show, and I really enjoyed your serialization, which is very up to date, and links to show to the very profound and contemporary theories about our society. I also want to add one other dimension, because I've been thinking about it for the last week while I was watching the show, is about privilege. Because where I see it, Carol was a highly privileged individual, for example, compared to Kumba. And while she is very distressed with what's going on, because she has actually lost her privilege, while she gained another one, she lost the privilege of becoming an independent person, because now she depends on that people to join, others. She calls them like you said, she looks down on these people because they lack agency, right? Like she have looked down upon the best-selling other books, because they are not good literature, and etc. But also she depends on these people, like she depended on the success of her not good literature. So she had this privilege of becoming an independent in the back, in the old days, but right now she depends on these people. And because she was so privileged that she perhaps did not have the same experiences that Kumba had, as a black guy, right? And while he is happy with the world right now. I was thinking about this, and I also want to add this to the discussion. If perhaps someone also thinks the same thing and interested in that. So thank you. I don't want to, talk too much. Maybe, others want to say.
As I was listening to, I thought about the scene where Komba watches Carol while she's having breakfast. She puts avocado on toast, and then she puts the eggs on it and the bacon, and he watches her, very carefully. Apparently, he doesn't know how to eat that because he probably didn't have avocado on toast before.
Yeah, probably he didn't have it.
So he acts like he's this rich guy, but I suspect that he's coming from a very low class.
We don't know that. It's not told in the show, but it's
just
it's implied.
Uh-huh.
He is living in the Elvis's suite, has these all very luxurious car for each day of the week. So he has this newfound individuality that he can insert right now, not in the old civilization, but in the new order of the world. So I think this is a very stark contrast when you think about the two characters. And also, she has the privilege of not having a family, because she criticizes others to comply and conforming to this unification very easily. But when you think about it, the other people had their husbands, their children, their family, and they cannot abandon them because they're still they see them in flesh. It's not like they just became alien or monstrous, mindless people. They have, on the contrary, have become very peaceful individuals. So they cannot just turn their backs to their families. But Carol already lost the only family that she had. That's unfortunate, yes, but now she is utterly free. So she doesn't also have that. She also has this privilege of becoming alone and having her own mind compared to the other individuals. This is again, she looks down upon them, but she is not in their shoes. Perhaps Helen wasn't that, and alive, joining, the others, she would have to also live with her and perhaps would have different opinion about the joining. Who knows? This was, I've been thinking about it for the past week. Thank you. I'm going to shut up now.
Yeah, I don't want to spend too much time. I want others to talk, but thank you very much, Dicle. My only worry is that you took this for too seriously, and you already delivered the conference paper like something and set standard too high. Now everybody will be offended and just, oh my God, just say this will be the thank you very much and end of the study group. No, thank you very much. This is very serious. My suggestion is that you're more than halfway into making this a paper for conference, to just finish this, write this down, and with all the ideas and submit somewhere, because this is with some argumentative additions, it's going to be a very nice thing. Okay, I haven't watched this, but let me just hear others. I haven't watched this myself, so my talk or question would be on another dimension, but let's hear the others. Is there somebody? Did somebody raise their hands? Yes, Ulaş Doğan. Yes, let's hear you. Ulaş. There are others, but I think Ulaş.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
While watching this, I realized that I also had saw the creator of the series some statements on how he hates AI. So while watching this, I realized that these entities that we think of as aliens are actually very similar to AIs, and like how the creator perfectly, captured how suffocating it feels to watch everyone around you surrender to AI. Like they are almost absorbed by AI, and while they act like you are the crazy one for having critical thinking skills. And these entities that we think of as aliens or viruses are very similar to AIs, in my opinion. So I wanted to add that also.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I think the show is deliberately making a critique of these large language models.
Yes, and there are also reactions to
the AI.
And their reactions are also very similar, like how they always try to satisfy the Carol, for example, and whatever she demands, they accept, and so on. So it was very similar. Like,
yeah, at some point, they're also ready to give her an atomic bomb. They say.
Yes.
And they also cannot, but the fact that they cannot lie is a bit, well, AI can lie, but it doesn't know that it lies. So maybe there is a bit of difference in that. But apart from that, I think it is deliberately a critique of AI. And at the end of by the credits, there is a saying, this show was not. This show was made by humans. Vince Gilligan himself has never used AI. He says that in all the interviews. So he's very against the idea of using AI.
Yes, and thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah, anybody else would like to have any question or a comment?
About the AI thing, I really enjoyed that scene where Kumba was, given prompt to everyone to have that party scene, and that one guy, he was just out of character, and he had to warn him about it.
Yeah.
That was really the scene that
was good.
shows about the prompting AI and everything. They literally, Kyril also literally has to tell them everything in a really serious order, so to get proper results out of that.
And like the fact that they claim that they are so resourceful and so organized and whatever, and they just so dumb that they will eventually starve themselves.
Yeah.
Using all the water. Like if you're talking about today's AI, we don't have much water left in the world, yet we are still not we. I don't want to say we anymore. People are investing in this, and probably the world is going to go out of water resources very soon. It is very dumb, actually.
It's interesting. I also have been thinking, what do you think about it? Is this an utopian dystopia or a dystopian utopia?
Thank you for asking. I was thinking what to label it. First, like I found myself reading a lot of utopia, dystopia, and then I said, wait, is this post-apocalyptic or is it both? And I decided, well, maybe at this point, and my thoughts went towards the metamodernism side criticism, because it oscillates in between utopia and dystopia, and it cannot stop at one place. It's very fluid, and then the whole this meta-narrative thing is also a method used in metamodernism. I find the show very metamodern, by the way. So, but it could be a post-apocalyptic dystopian / metamodern kind of thing.
That would invite a very interesting but very big discussion starting with metamodernism. Yes, Dilan? No, we're not hearing you.
Now, can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear. Thank you.
I think I haven't watched it yet, but so thanks for the spoilers in advance. But now I'm more interested in watching it.
Good.
I believe that we can categorize it as critical dystopia, right? Because you said it's more towards metamodernism, so it let us question things while watching it, because it makes us really, as far as I understood, uncomfortable, and I don't know, maybe out of place. Maybe that's why we can say it's a critical dystopia. I don't know. Just a suggestion.
It definitely criticizes. Yeah. Özgür Hocam.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Yes. First of all, thank you very much for the beautiful presentation. And as Cem Hocam said, you set the bar very high. Yeah, it was an excellent presentation. I watched the first 5 episodes after our last meeting, and it was very enjoyable as a way of I mean, let alone the literary side. It was enjoyable to watch, and as Dilan said, it makes us criticize the system we are living in, the capitalist system. There was a scene when they gathered in the plane, and Carol was that, okay, we must solve the problem. We have a big problem, and the guy says, "What's the problem? I mean, what's wrong? Nobody is dying. They are not killing animals. It looks like a wonderful place. I mean, some of the things we have in this world are solved." And yeah, then you think, yeah, is it a better way? I mean, that they are living. And there was another scene. The woman had a kid, and the kid was crying because Carol disturbed the system in some way, and she was again angry with Carol. Okay, she said, "You cannot disturb my kid. You cannot make him cry." And the woman was happy with the situation again. The kid. So maybe the kid was in some way conquered by this hive mind, but the mother was not aware of that, so she was happy. That made me think. Because she cannot make a difference between the older kid and the younger kid. There's no difference with them, so she's happy with her kid. Yes. And that made me think: are we already conquered by a system? Are we already conquered by this hive mind? I mean, so if we are conquered by it, and if it doesn't make any difference, that means we are already maybe a slave to a meta narrative or a hive mind. I don't know if I could explain myself.
Yeah, I mean, people don't have second thoughts when they are giving their children iPads or iPhones.
Yeah.
It's very, it's something we live every day. And while I was listening, what you were saying, the Hindu woman. I think she's Hindu. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
But
the Hindu woman.
yeah, she's very protective of her son, even though her
Yes.
son is no longer himself. I
She was
think,
happy
like,
about the kid, she was happy about her husband. So she didn't notice any change. I mean, so
I think
she was
I think
happy.
there's also a cultural difference between Carol and these people.
Hmm.
You know, it will come back to what Firuza Hojam said. They don't have the American kind of way of living. They are more maybe into community. And for example, one of the girls in that meeting, she said she wanted to join them, but she couldn't. She wanted to be with her aunt. Like that was so Turkish. That's what I felt. If I was, if my son was in the hive mind, I would probably, keep him. Like I would be still very protective of him. And at that moment, I realized that Carol is not asking enough questions at all. She doesn't try to understand the hive mind. Whereas the other people gather, they make Zoom conferences every now and then. They still can continue this peaceful, thoughts and opinions on this, like what they're going through. They can talk about this. It's like maybe a therapy for them, like they can get. But Carol is also very against that. Like she cannot come together with those people. I would ask more questions if I were Carol. I would say like I would come to that point without trying to go behind them, but like I would just ask them like, what are you going to do? Where are the kids? I don't see many kids around. Or like, what do you guys eat? How are you going to sustain this life? So, yeah.
Can I add one thing while Özgür Hocam, when you were talking? Two things just dropped my mind. The first one is about just you said, Carol doesn't ask enough questions, and more importantly, the other individuals, unaffected individuals, somehow respect these new affected ones because they try to, hinder their starvation by trying to find new ways. It's all about the science fictional other, right? And respecting the other. Carol doesn't do that. This is how we all live our lives, right? Even though we meet people that we do not share the same opinion, share the same lifestyle, right? Even we might think that these people support the ideas that we respect them and we wouldn't, just shut them down. We live together in a society. But Carol just skips that point and, does not consider them as sentient human beings, but they are sentient emotionally and physically. They are affected by their surroundings. Would it matter really if they have this hive mind because they're alive somehow? That's one thing, respecting the other. And the other one is agency. As Özgür Hocam said, the Hindu woman does not realize any difference. And it also brings the question, how much agency even, we're exerting today in our worlds.
Mm-hmm.
That's illusion of happiness, illusion of choice that capitalism brings us, right? Even though we think that we have a choice, it's not like our authentic choices. We are actually given the script right before we were born. It's really hard to break that change. So the agency that Carol is searching right now, that kind of existence, it wasn't even there before.
Yes, absolutely.
But what's the difference now? If it's conformity, people were conforming before that, and even to more harmful ways of conformation back. Maybe we can say that conforming, but right now this doesn't exist. So these are, I think, the other questions that will come up while we're watching the show in the next episodes. But these things, I think, important conceptually.
Yeah, at one point, Carol was surrounded by the other individuals, and she said, "I have my agency. You cannot touch me." That was a very striking sentence. I mean, I have my agency.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was very striking for me. You cannot touch me. That agency puts you to a different level. I mean, if you have agency, I mean, you are
In the hierarchy
you are a
of
real
things.
human. You are a real human being. I mean,
Mm.
that's a very
In the
main-
last episode, Özgür Hocam, you haven't watched it, but in the last episode, she was very happy that she could not, spoiler alert, she could not turn her into one of them without taking her consent. She
Yes.
was very happy about it. You know, she was, I don't know the word for it, but she was really happy that she cannot be turned without her consent. She even confirmed it like twice with the others. So that issue of agency, consent, these are also other ethical aspects of the show, which I think will have more dimensions.
And when during that scene, I was thinking to myself, like, when these big companies send us terms and agreements,
Yeah.
people like consent. It was so, that moment, I was like, oh, I hope I'm not giving my liver to those
Yeah.
people.
At some point, we might, we wouldn't even realize that.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I think Deniz Can has a question.
Hello everyone, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
we do.
Thank you for beautiful presentation, firstly. Secondly, about this topic, I think there's a dilemma in the series because at episode 2 or 3, I don't remember, Zosha gives example about how they see Carol, about Zosha says, if I remember correctly, if a girl drowns in the river, what can you do?
Yes.
And in the last episode, Carol says, I do not give my consent about my body, but they said that we want to turn you and we can see you as a drowned girl, but they don't change her in the last episode. I think there's a dilemma here.
I think they changed their minds because the way that they find how to turn her is very invasive of her body. Like, they have to put a needle into her, and it's very painful, and they don't want to exert pain on any thing alive. So they didn't know this before. So in the beginning, they were like, whenever we find a solution, we will turn you. But then the solution they find is very invasive towards her body. That's when they realize that they have to get her consent. So that makes the change, I think.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes, Mehmet Turan.
Yes. So also, I only watched the first episode, and thank you for presentation. So, and it takes place in Albuquerque, which is pretty multi-ethnic city and multi-ethnic environment. So I was just curious about the show's approach to race. So do you have any observations about race and racial differences? So I just wanted to ask that.
I could.
Oops.
It's not just me, right,
Dicle,
Dicle Hocam? Just
Dicle,
disconnected.
if you can hear us, you froze. Okay, maybe she clicked on the wrong button, but
Yes.
she'll be back with us. Okay. Yeah. She's answering your question. She'll be back.
She
I haven't watched this myself yet because I have other things to do in my life. I thought one way of contributing to such a presentation, such a discussion, which I haven't watched, could be that I decided to pick some themes from her presentation. I mean, somebody looking from the whole discussion from the outside, and also somebody who is trying to follow the evolution of science fiction. Okay, Disney is coming. Dicle? Oh no, she's out again. Okay, she's Dicle, we can't hear you. No audio.
Your
Okay,
mic
sorry.
is okay.
I don't know what
Yeah,
happened. I just it was out of my consent. What were you asking?
I was asking about your observations about race and racial differences in the show. Did you pick any specific thing about race? And
Actually, I didn't look into that. No,
yeah.
I didn't specifically look into what race but I thought about it, but I didn't go into that direction.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, for example, the black guy comes with the American president's plane. I mean, he obviously comes from a poor country, and he's obviously very poor in his real life, but he comes in a very very pompous way. I mean, with the great plane. And also there's a depiction of the Indian family. There are some I mean, I cannot call these racist, but there are some I mean, references to different people from different countries. Let's say, for example, there's mentions a guy from Turkey. I think he's a candy seller. So there are some types. I mean, from Turkey, candy seller. The lady from India takes care about his family and children. So there are some stereotyping.
Maybe.
I realize some kind of stereotyping. And another striking scene for me was, I think it was at the beginning of the first episode or the second, the scene that everybody was doing everybody's work. I mean, the lady was walking, then he flew the plane, then he jumped out of the plane, and he went into an ambulance or something. He drove a motorbike. That was also very striking. I mean, it was also reference to our very social life. I mean, the role of women in the society, the role of men, the role of some jobs, for example. I mean, we see being a pilot as a very difficult thing to do. I mean, but selling hamburgers in a shop. But when we see a young guy selling hamburgers in his clothes, and he's changing roles of flying a plane. So it was very striking for me. I don't know what you think about that.
Yes.
About
Well, yeah.
the equality. I mean, well, for both men and women.
Can I say something about it while you're saying that? I just remembered Donna Haraway's Cyborg Manifesto. If you remember that, for example, in there she says the cyborg lives in a post-gender world, right? It doesn't have any gender, it doesn't have any race. So also what Mehmet asked about the race, the utopian aspects of the show is that these people, these new post-humans, have no difference of race or gender or a child, etc. Right? It's just that a children perhaps cannot perform physically what a adult male could do. But other than that, anybody can do anything, literally, because they have all the information. That's a very utopian aspect, and it reminds of this post-gender, post-racial world. But of course, it comes back to the idea that somebody's utopia is others' dystopia. So what you sacrifice to create such post world, post everything world, they sacrifice their individuality, their agency, even their bodies after dying. They are literally liquidized and consumed by this new post structure.
Yeah. And as I was doing some research, when you said cyborg, I remembered cyberpunk, and the transition from cyberpunk to biopunk is also a matter we could talk about, in this art of science fiction.
Yeah. Perhaps you can use these, including your own, brilliant categorization, serialization, if you turn this to an article or a presentation somewhere.
Maybe I might. Thank you.
Duygu Beste has sent a line. Maybe you realize that she said you can quickly turn this into a review article
Yeah,
instead of
thank you. I will. Duygu, thank you so much for your support.
Thank you again. Anybody else?
It is.
I was saying something when you were out because I haven't watched it. My take from the outside, listening to all what you people have said, and also I'm trying to follow the evolution of science fiction myself. And there is one thing that there's a recent thing. It feels like or science fiction work more or less goes back to or repeats something like 1980s. But despite the fact that 1980s was a very different age, still I cannot help but more and more agree that now science fiction creators, in whichever form, go back to 80s and borrow certain elements and just somehow incorporate them into modern narratives. Okay, there is no artificial intelligence in the sense we know today, ChatGPT like prompts and stuff, but this is very novel. But I can't help but name some titles, and I'd like, maybe if you know them, maybe you can say the connection. For example, started from not 80s, Invasion of Body Snatchers, in which we have the theme of our being visited by foreign force, foreign elements, which convert us into, and during our sleep, which convert people into. By the way, can you stop your presentation so
I will. Stop sharing.
I think now you can see my screen.
Mm-hmm.
My tab, okay. So that maybe other people can just take down notes.
Hi, Invasion of Body Snatchers, yeah.
Yeah, so this film has something like 5, because it has 5, 1950s, 1978, and 1990s. There's also called Body Invasion, sorry. And also the Invasion. So each era, this is also another remake of this film. Body Snatchers, sorry, is also, I think this is translated into 1993, Parasite.
Yeah.
So all these are actually, there are 4 or 5 films that are, but they all stem from the original film, 1950s film. Ceset Yiyicilerin İstilası, what a bad name, but whatever. It sounds like a zombie film, but it's not. It's, very interesting. It's a Cold War metaphor, but maybe there may be some interesting takes. The other coming and taking us when we are asleep, converting us but of course there's a kind of mass mentality there, lacking individuality. And I think the theme, invasion, turning us into communists, which is not a very good term from 2025. We are no longer threatened by any kind of ideology that way, but in individuality. And I think 1993 version, we had a very interesting scene in which at a military garrison, it takes place at a military base actually, and there is this black person who is approached by the others, come and join us, and he says, no, I know who I am, and he kills himself. Kind of very serious defense of individuality. So that brought my mind these kind of concepts. But more interestingly, when you said liquefied people turning into food, this comes directly from Soylent Green. So it talks about, again, this talks about this 1970s film, but these people were under the influence of certain kind of expectations that the world population will skyrocket, resources will be depleted. In the year 2000s, the oil will be finished and crime will take over cities, and the government will actually resort to very difficult things for population control, including telling people to go to suicide clinics so that you'll convince people to kill themselves. And also, because of lack of food, government gives you, just like in this picture, kind of food, factory-made food, just like a green bar of soap, which is made. And the film has actually one line that could spoil everything, but it doesn't matter because you've already watched Polyrobos. So people are actually wondering, what is this Soylent Green that the government keeps giving people, the young people, what this is made of? And if I say this line, everything will be spoiled, but because you're into Polyrobos, the Soylent Green is people. So this is the cash line of the film. So actually, in the future, when resources are depleted, that human bodies are converted into food, so that the government or the system makes you eat yourself. I think it's not necessarily a kind of a technique, but at the same time a metaphor that tells you that we are just like in a hamsters in a hamster cage. We are given food and we are just made to work, and government does whatever, or the system does whatever they want to themselves. And there are many as well. I'm not going to take any more time, but I think this is more recent film, 2019, Vivarium. It's a kind of criticism of suburban life, in which, again, this is very symbolic and actually very interesting film. I'm still trying to make sense of it. It talks about, manage the society and also the suburban sameness. You may find this very interesting because it also has, reproduction, etc. So I can't tell in what sense this. I made this connection when you're talking about this plurals, but I think this could be a very interesting thing to your lists too. This is also a very good discussion for utopia, dystopia, and system analysis. I just want to say a couple of things, and of course you can just go also to things like silent running. Again, this is a very important ecological science fiction. From 1972. It's about a man. But these have bits and pieces, I think, have found their way into the making of this Pluribus. Not, some of you may say, this has nothing to do with. Yeah, no, I think it has at least one thing to do with this. So these issues and ideas have found in their place into, in the series that we talked about. And I think that's all. Yeah. So you can just push it out. Logan's Run could be, again, another managed society, which was very popular. So these are 1980s, 70s, and 80s films. So, but I think science fiction borrows not the looks, but actually the themes. It's interesting because the themes and the values of 70s and 80s are totally different. It didn't happen, for example. So we were afraid that cities will be. This is true. So this is another film, Escape from New York, that the cities are totally lost to crime and gangs, and we will not be able to control ourselves. So it's not quite like this, maybe, but we have other worries. But maybe if somebody is interested in them, I just want to point out some key works that might add to the history of science fiction, which somehow are still relevant. Okay, so that's it.
Okay, and some other critics also mentioned Brave New World.
Brave New World, yeah, that's all around. You can't do without maybe. You can't be free from Brave New World and Blade Runner at the same time. So they all have these issues. But
Yeah.
we live in a different age. I think AI has a different place. I was at a AI-related conference from our philosophy department yesterday, Friday, the whole day, and it's about artificial intelligence and ethics. These guys are philosophers. They actually talked about the very things we talked about, but from a more philosophical point of view, from philosophic point of view, and from ethics point of view. Some of them were very common, very informal, but some were very serious. But I think I just could not. I didn't raise my hand, but said all these things that you're doing in philosophy, science fiction already does it in practice, in your face. So I think we are dealing with science fiction. We can also take the discussion to very, very interesting parts, just like body or philosophy. Very interesting. Okay, that's my take. Thank you very much, Lisa.
Thank you.
Okay, we're more than an hour and something like 50 minutes.
Before we close this meeting discussion. I want to just remind that I have sent a schedule for our meetings, both to the chat of this group and to the WhatsApp group. As we discussed at the beginning of this meeting, maybe we can change the dates to Wednesdays. So I'm going to alter the dates. If it's okay for everyone, maybe we would have more contribution, other members joining. So can you please look at it at your free time and perhaps choose a date? Just write a tentative topic, and then you can come up with the title a week before the actual date of discussion, and then we can just fill in the 3 weeks later. I, Cem Hocam, whenever we are also available. So the schedule is online, and if you check and have any other questions or suggestions, you can just write us via mail or from the Google Forms, from the application form. I just wanted to remind that.
Thank you. Maybe we can ask whether there are any volunteers for
Yes.
next time, right at the moment. Some people can just say, I'd like to do this, have a start a discussion. Okay, just like an initiator.
The next date would be, according, if we turn it to Wednesday, it is, okay, it's just New Year's Eve. So maybe we can do 30th or 29th.
I think
on Monday.
I think let's do the next one in either next week or so, very close. And I think the New Year and before and after is very dangerous. People will be around. 29th, nobody will be just here.
27th,
and 29th, there are many other parties and people together. So, or we just do the next one in the New Year.
Okay, so maybe after New Year's, like 7th.
Yeah,
the week
would be nice.
after. Okay, I'm just going to change the date here.
Unless somebody has an offer for before the 15th. Today is already what, 10th? No, today 6th. Something like around the 15th, mid-December. Unless somebody has an offer to make it so close, I can have a discussion. I'd like to talk about it. I'm writing a paper. We have an assignment, so I just want to start the discussion, have your opinions, kind of thing. So we can have it early, or anything after 15th is quite risky. And also it's the end of the semesters, and I think people will be very busy.
Yeah.
So it's New Year's 7th will be okay for us. But nobody. So I think we'll have it next year. So the 7th.
On 7th then. Okay. Well, the schedule is just changeable. You can alter it. So if you have any suggestions before 15, you can just write your date and title, and then I can arrange the rest of the dates. But other than that, I've just changed it to 7th. So are there any volunteers at this moment for the 7th? Maybe we can ask it like that.
Okay, they will let us know. They will let us know at the moment. Maybe people, you scared everybody.
Yeah.
I thought I just.
I'm not going to talk now.
I don't want to come underprepared. I'm sorry.
No, that was very beautiful, and it's so beautiful that we already tell you you're doing it in a different dimension. So just go on walking that way. You're putting so much effort and just like all the references and stuff. That's more than halfway there. Just if you're there, just keep walking further.
Okay. I will. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm currently working on an assignment I have to finish. So not the next one, maybe the one after that. I can be presenting. Not
the
on
one
the
after the 7th.
Yeah, the one after the next one. Not on the 7th, but the next one. Maybe I can present.
His name. So we'll have a placeholder so he can let us know what he's going to talk about.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much.
Özgür Hocam, your date would be around 28th January.
Okay, that looks fine now. Okay, thank you. Okay.
It was too late because there's what you just added using the 3-week rule. You just maybe you can just make it closer. I mean, if it works with Özgür Hocam. I mean, we can have on 7th and something like 15th, then we can go back
Yeah.
to our previous schedule.
Maybe if you can
Okay.
find some more contributors, it may be the timing may be closer with more
Okay.
contributors, with more presentations. Maybe I shared the poster with my own faculty, the Yabancı Diller Yüksekokulu, but unfortunately I haven't seen anybody yet. But I think I'll.
Okay, whatever you say, timing is yours, and talk to Firuz
Okay.
and us about this. Let us know
Mhm.
when is best for you. 7 too early,
Mhm.
28
Mhm.
maybe too late. Because if you say 28, we're taking too much time for that. Maybe nothing will happen on 7 unless we just arrange it with somebody. So
I can, Cem Hocam, if anybody else would volunteer for the 7th, maybe I can make the presentation I did in Yaşar
Yeah.
University. I can
Yeah.
just film that.
So why don't you just write yourself as a placeholder so it looks kind of
Okay.
Yes, okay. Yours on 7th, Özgür on 28th, whatever. I can do something, and maybe other people will just also add in. Just we are placeholders. If you feel like doing something, we can just move ourselves always later. So let us know.
Yes. If there anyone else for the 7th, I can just move my name to some
Yeah.
other date.
Okay. I think that's all for today. That was a very beautiful discussion. Thank you very much, Dicle. So
Thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much again.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So,
Bye.
looks like this is
Thank
going to be
you.
a very good group again. So hope to see you next time. And just follow us and follow the announcements. So we'll be remaining it. And if you're not there already, please join WhatsApp group so you will receive things directly there. Okay.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Have a
Bye.
nice
Good night.
day.
Bye.
See you.
Goodbye. Bye.